So today I'm talking about wash and dry Wednesday. Well, you probably wondering, what in the Sam Hill she talking about wash and dry? It's time to get all the dirt out, y'all. Now listen, what would you guys do if you knew it was a personnel, a medical personnel, that was trying to do some thievery on a patient? I think that's real bogus. And I'm trying to change things a little bit when it comes to pastors to make sure they're okay upstairs. Listen, you can pass all different kind of tests, right? You can pass a test to be a medical doctor. You can pass a test to be a lawyer. Now, when it comes to the law, lawyers, they always say politicians and lawyers sometimes, whenever they open their mouth, they're lying, right? So listen. When you got some stuff on people, you better make sure you got all your ammunition lined up, right? So I'm not just talking stuff. I want y'all to pay attention because y'all know once I get going, I don't know how to stop. Now listen. What would you think about a doctor or, a physician assistant, a PA, a physician assistant? They're supposed to live to a certain standard. Now, what if you caught them red-handed in the act trying to commit some type of thievery on a patient? And nonetheless, a patient that has issues, that has memory issues and things like that. What would you think about that? Do they belong? Should they be locked up? Do they belong? I think they belong in jail. And, I think they do. And when they've been caught red-handed, what do you think should happen to that person? And then listen, not only thievery, attempting to rob somebody. Now, what if it's someone that they know? What do you do about that? What do you do with all that information? What do you do with a whole stack of information? What do you do with that? So I think it's just awful. I think it's awful. It's thievery. It's just thievery when you're trying, and you have papers. Now I can speak to this because this sort of thing happened to my husband. I guess that's why I'm very passionate about this. This happened to my husband. Let me tell you this. Then I'm going to get into the music. This happened to my husband. Most people, of course, people don't know my story when it comes to that. My husband, of course, he was well known on the west side of Chicago, known in other states as well. But listen, he lost his eyesight because of juvenile diabetes. He was a diabetic, and he had diabetes as a child. So by the time he got older, things started. He had complications, and he lost his eyesight. And long story short, because y'all know our attention span these days is very short. People fall off at about 2 minutes. Y'all know what happened. He had all this property. I never talk about this stuff. He had owned all this properties many years ago. On the west side of Chicago, he owned pretty much a lot of property on the west side of Chicago, all over in Homan Square, what they call Homan Square these days. Homan Square, all up and down Homan. A lot of different buildings and properties on the west side of Chicago. He had a restaurant, the Black Skittle, Jackson, right at the interstate. Not the interstate. I get, Chicago people don't say interstate. Right at the expressway. He had the Skillet right at the expressway. And he had a lot of different buildings. He had a building in Bellwood. He had a building in the city that he gave to his daughter and someone else. And so, listen, y'all know what happened. Now, he had a friend, a so-called friend, that did a Jimmy switch on him. He asked him, they were going to sign some paperwork. Now, this was before we got married. This is what happened. Now, it was a very well-known politician here in the city of Chicago that was involved in this scam and this thievery. And so my husband signed the papers, but now he was supposed to be signing something else. This is what he thought. This is what he thought. But the politician, the other person, had him to sign the document, and he signed all of his property over to this politician and someone else. That's thievery. And so they had a huge court case going on for many years, and he was trying to get his property back. And so, long story short, the reason why I brought that up, that's just an example of what happened with this medical person and thievery of a patient that had memory issues. Instead of explaining what's going on, what this person was signing, she covered up the papers and says, this is what it's going to be. And every time, now somebody else was in the room. It was 3 people that was in the room. And so the third party would turn around, check out, make sure everything is okay. And every time the third party would make sure everything's okay, they would cover up everything so they could not read and see what was going on. So anyway, long story short, it was thievery, my friend. So the bottom line is, when the dry, now that's the wash, but it came out in the dry. So So when all the papers came back, all the names are all mixed up and incorrect. You hear what I'm saying? So the person did this intentionally. It was not a mistake. It was no. It was not a mistake. It was intentional. Intentional. It was three people in the room. The two people that was involved, and there was a third party that was witnessing. So now listen, that was intentional. And that's not the only thing. So that's why I say people need to take an exam when they're going to be a physician assistant, if they're going to be a lawyer. They need to take some exams for their head to make sure they're not cuckoo in their head.